2019 was the year, and I am going to review it. In terms of media, that is, I don't think I'm qualified to talk about politics. I know this video is late, but I live in the UK, so I get films super late, as well as TV shows. Here are some of the films that I haven't watched yet, but I know I will eventually. Anyway, I have seen 46 films and 23 seasons of television. Yes, that was intentional. And I will be ranking all of them from worst to best. And by that I mean the enjoyment I had with the film. This is not a ranking determined by the filmmaking. It's purely based off of how much I enjoyed and connected to the story. Also, I will only talk about dramatized media, so no documentaries, and these are only films that premiered in 2019, so not films that only got their wide release in 2019. Okay, let's go. This is unscripted, by the way. This was just nothing. This was just substanceless propaganda. I've never been so bored in my life. A 50-year-old man behind me said it was absolute shit, which I totally agree with, and just, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this film started as like a Twitter argument. There's just nothing special about this film, and I can't believe it got made. This is more disappointing than bad, but it was still pretty crap. This was written and directed by Dan Gilroy, writer and director of Nightcrawler, which is incredible, and he somehow made this garbage, which is just so boring and just so, like, not entertaining until, like, the last 14 minutes. I couldn't care about anything. The trailers were bad, but I knew going into it that Brie Larson would be the best part of the film because she's an amazing actress. And she somehow ended up being the worst part of it because they just wrote her character so poorly. She's just so underdeveloped. Like, how can you fuck up so bad to the point where Captain Marvel is the worst part of Captain Marvel? The only thing I liked about that film was Talos, because everything else is just pointless garbage that ruins the MCU. This film should most probably be right at the bottom, but it's actually just ridiculous how incompetent it is, that it's just so much fun to watch with a friend. It's... oh my god. Man, this was quite disappointing as well. It was laughably bad at points. Like, it was just really cringy. It was never scary. I liked what they were doing with Elizabeth Banks, and I also thought that Pam's boyfriend was good. But, like, everything that was good with this film, which was very little, was destroyed by the end. I just really didn't enjoy this film. I found myself laughing at it more than with it. Oh my god, this was so boring. This is like over 2 hours long, but it was missing so much. The characters were just planks of wood. And it kind of sucks that this is based on a true story and the real heroes have this crappy film. It was so boring, it was so bad, and just, it's kind of a tragedy, really. This was not good. If this film didn't have Pokemon in it, it would be hailed as one of the worst films of the year. It is awful. It's so generic. They just, okay, let's go here to get more exposition. Oh, we gotta go there to get more exposition now? Oh, okay. And, like, the acting wasn't good. Ryan Reynolds had, like, 2 good jokes, I guess. Like, the only thing this film has going for it is that they actually made the Pokemon look good. This was not good. I really did not like this. The presentation was awful. Like, I really hated the visuals. But I could tell it was made with passion. Like, it was originally a short film that came out in 2017. So, you know, well done on the director, I guess, although I didn't like anything about it. Man, this was so disappointing. This had such a good trailer. There were stupid decisions in writing. The CGI monsters was ripped straight out of a PS2 game. There was never any build of tension. It was just jump scare mania. And it's just so ugly. Like, at one point there's a scene in the film where it's set in daylight, and because it's set in the 60s, it's really well color graded. But the rest of the film is set in dark areas and you can't see a fucking thing, and it's so bad. But the final act was really cool, and the main girl was a pretty good actress as well. This is just so boring. There are no stakes. Keanu is not only unstoppable, but he can't act. But I do appreciate that this is an action film actually made with style, and there's effort put into it, which I really respect, and the choreography is insane. But they should have just left it at number 1. I really enjoyed watching this. I had a lot of fun watching it, but it's objectively bad. It's thought-provoking because it's a Stephen King film. It's just one of those stupidly written films. It's just like, just don't go into the grass, guys. And there were poor performances scattered throughout, and I thought there were some nice shots. America bad. That's this whole film. Whoever color graded this, you need to be fired. They just slided temperature all the way to 100%. And whoever the cinematographer is, dude, you need to get checked out. I think you might have Parkinson's, dude. Oh my god, this... whoosh. The cinematography sucked. The score was just royalty-free music. Adam Driver is the driving force of this film. Yeah, I saw the trailer and I was like, ugh. And then apparently it was actually pretty fun. So me and my friend went to see it, and yeah, I quite enjoyed it. It was self-aware. It was actually really funny at points. I mean, despite it being, you know, really generic. But yeah, I thought Isabella Merced was great. She was really well cast, and that's most probably because the casting director was Sarah Haley Finn, the casting director for the MCU, which was pretty insane. It was a fun movie, and I'm glad I decided to watch it. It premiered at TIFF, I think, and it got awful reviews, and that just really made me sad, because it's directed by John Crowley, which is the reason I was so excited for it, because he directed one of my favourite films of all time, Brooklyn. Yeah, obviously I still watched it. It wasn't bad as people were saying, but, you know, it was pretty average, and, the cinematography is great because it's Roger Deakins. Oakes Fagley was pretty good. Ansel Elgort was way better than I was anticipating. But there's just no plot. Like, it's just structured so weirdly. And oh my god, Finn Wolfhard, you are fucking dreadful in this. You are laughable. This was the biggest letdown of 2019. This is directed by the Safdie brothers, who did Good Time, which is far more than a good time, and now they've done this, which is just Good Time, but worse in every possible way. Adam Sandler just gives an okay performance. He wasn't snubbed, he's just fine. The pacing is really bad. I feel like Adam Sandler's character is just not well written. I thought I quite liked the ending, and I liked how it was shot and how pretty much every frame has a vignette around it, but that's all I have to say about this film. I hate that I didn't love it. And to be honest, I don't even think it's objectively good. I don't get it. I don't get why this is getting such high critical acclaim. I thought this was quite nice. I'd watched the Ted Bundy documentary that came out earlier in the year. He was directed by the same guy. Yeah, I thought it was fine. Lily Collins was really great. I liked the idea to tell it from her perspective. Zac Efron was perfectly cast as Ted Bundy. But I just thought the pacing was a bit, there's just kind of nothing special about it. This was fine. I see the director going a long way, but I just couldn't really get into it. But I just think the story is quite underdeveloped, and I couldn't really discern anything from it. But I loved the cinematography. I thought the cinematography was wonderful. Man, I was disappointed by a film that I kind of had no expectations for. Like, it was Mike Flanagan, so I was pretty excited for it. He's one of my favorite directors. But it was also like a sequel to The Shining. I don't need that. Yeah, it just ended up being really dull. A lot of jump scare sounds. It didn't even feel like a horror. It felt like a supernatural action film. The performances weren't all that great. Dialogue was wonky. But I really liked the cinematography and the overall look of the film. It really went well with the tone. This would be a lot lower if the powerhouse that is Florence Pugh wasn't in this film, because Stephen Merchant, I don't think he's seen a film since 2007. The direction is so lame. Like, Nick Frost, I love him. He had a few good jokes. Florence Pugh, I love her. She made this film. I just think this film is a bit manipulative. It's a very crowd-pleasing film, and it just relies on that. And also there's a subplot that is so overplayed that I never cared about. I wouldn't say this is objectively good, but it's just so chill, and it's really well directed, and Jonathan Pryce and Anthony Hopkins were great, although I don't think they deserve to be Oscar nominated for it. The presentation sucked. This was shot on like a point and shoot, and I swear there was no colour grading. Man, this was disappointing. I was so excited for this film because it's directed by Destin Daniel Cretton, who directed my favourite film of all time. And I would say this is his worst film, although I haven't seen I Am Not a Hipster. I was so happy to be sitting down in the theatre watching this, because I could tell it was a Destin Daniel Cretton film, but it just never got past that first act energy. Like, it felt like the tone never changed. I don't know, it wasn't necessarily boring, and I loved the cinematography, but it's just Oscar bait, and there isn't much going for it, which is really a shame. yeah, it's a lot deeper than it looks on the surface level. I really enjoyed this. Seth Rogen and Charlize Theron are just so likable, and they had great chemistry, and I love O'Shea Jackson Jr., so it's nice to see him in more stuff. And I mean, yeah, as it's a sort of rom-com, there's some writing that is just so dumb. It delivers a political message without being too preachy. It was just a lot better than I was expecting. Like, it actually had a sense of style. This is definitely the biggest surprise for me. I saw the trailer and was so disinterested. My friend ended up dragging me to it about literally over a month after it came out. But damn, it was so much fun. Like, the world building was great. Rosa Salazar was really good as Alita. I really enjoyed her. Mahershala Ali was good. But some of the CGI is really rough. And also, the story is very cliched. Like, there's one character that is just there to humanize Alita, and it's just such a heavy-handed, cliched romantic plot that I didn't like at all. I said that this would be unsuccessful Oscar bait, and I have no idea how it ended up getting nominated for Best Picture. Like, what the fuck? At some points it's very boring, but this is just an incredibly enjoyable film. It brought out a younger side of me with the really well shot racing scenes that had a really nice build of tension to them. It's also a very funny film, but it's just filled to the brim with great performances. But it is just, it's Oscar bait, come on. I had to watch this twice because the first time I was quite disappointed and seemed to disagree with most of the internet, but I still firmly believe it's an awfully written film. Yeah, Zendaya and Tom Holland have great chemistry and Jon Watts is good at directing the high school stuff, but it's just a bad film, an awful Spider-Man film, and a bad MCU film. However, both times I had an immense amount of fun with it. This was originally around number 10, and then I realised that I don't remember anything from it other than like 4 scenes. I just know it made me laugh quite a bunch and it made me cry. So I'm just gonna put it here for now until I see it again. Oh my god, it was so much better than I was expecting. Yes, the editing is dreadful, and this is most probably Bill Pope's worst film as director of photography. Like, the first half of this film was just plain bad, but the second half, oh my god, it was so good, it was so much fun. The action was satisfying enough, the angels were literal angels, Kristen Stewart was just a scene stealer, she was clearly having so much fun, and therefore I had so much fun watching her. It was a very funny film, but the style of this film is stupid choices. Also, the social message is so pandering. The marketing did this film so dirty. I was expecting god-awful Hollywood garbage. This was clearly written with heart, and I really enjoyed it. Like, there's so many callbacks to the first one that are so subtle, and it was just so funny. And there's a one take, which isn't actually a one take, which was really well choreographed, and I was quite impressed by it. Zoe Deutsch was so great that they decided to replace Abigail Breslin with her, because they just had no idea what to do with her. The post-credit scene is one of the best post-credit scenes of all time, oh my god. In my initial review of this, I clearly loved it, and I do, but I don't know if I sounded that excitable because people were saying it was god-awful, and I was just glad that it wasn't god-awful, so I need to rewatch it. The performances and the character writing were great, and because you love these characters so much because of the incredible performances, especially by Eddie Ransom and Bill Hader, and James McAvoy and Jessica Chastain, it's a really scary film because you don't want anything bad to happen to them, and this film ended up making me tear up 3 times. If I was ranking this based off of filmmaking instead of my enjoyment, this would be right at the top. Not number 1, but most probably in top 5. This is just so well made. The beginning was just spectacular. I think it slows down a bit in the middle, but the ending was so great, and I think that could be a film by itself. And there were a bunch of editing choices which were just really bad, and I have no idea how it's nominated for Best Video Editing, but Al Pacino and Joe Pesci highly deserve their Oscar nominations for supporting actor. Man, this came out of nowhere. Oh my god, Eddie Murphy, he's back, and it's greater than ever. Oh my god. Haha! I would say The Disaster Artist is most probably more technically well made, but I think I enjoyed Dolomite more. Yeah, just all the performances were really good. I thought it was really funny, I thought it was really touching, and it just had a nice message. This is a really good political thriller. It's nothing groundbreaking, but it's incredibly engaging. It had me delving into my fish fingers and custard, and that's due to the great performances by just about everyone, especially Keira Knightley. She was fantastic. Matt Smith as well, I loved him, and I quite liked the cinematography. It's not really my style, but I appreciated the effort put into the shot composition because it was really good. I just don't like static cinematography, but I think that kind of works for this film because it makes it more grounded, I guess. I saw the trailer for this when I went to see Brightburn, and I laughed because it looks so bad. But apparently it was good, so I thought, okay, I'll check it out. And holy shit, it was so much fun, and it was surprisingly suspenseful. Like I was actually scared and biting my nails for most of the film. It was not even build of tension; it's just tense. It's so tense for the whole film, and I'm really interested to get my hands on the Blu-ray to see how they shot this film because the cinematography is great. The animation is absolutely gorgeous, and the story, it is so well written, and it's told from such a unique perspective that somehow works. And I loved the theme of like never being content with life. This was just watch it. It's fucking beautiful. It's beautiful. Wow, this was so well directed. How the fuck did Greta not get nominated for Best Directing? The non-linear narrative was executed so well, although at some points I feel like it could get a bit confusing for some people, because at one point it lost me. Like, you think it's just a nice little drama, and then the sad undertones sneak in, but also the film kind of babies you a little. Like, they will show you something, and then 10 minutes later they'll just tell you. Florence Pugh, she better win Best Supporting Actress for this. How was she so unlikable but so lovable? I related to Saoirse Ronan so much. Anna de Armas, Ryan Johnson, Scott Yedlin, and the Sweaters. This should most probably be lower. In my initial review, I clearly loved this film, and for quite some time it was at the #1 spot, and then I decided to rewatch it, and it was just so dull. If this film didn't have the final act, this would most probably be a lot further down. Second time around, I realized that Joaquin Phoenix just carries this film all by himself. Like, yeah, I quite like the cinematography, but Todd Phillips, how the fuck did you get nominated? Like, although it's clearly very similar to King of Comedy and You Were Never Really Here, like eerily similar, the correct word to use for this film is uninspired. There's just nothing. It doesn't deserve the 11 nominations. It deserves cinematography, Joaquin Phoenix, and the score. It's haunting. It is so good. But I do still firmly believe that it's a very good film about mental illness. Yeah, in my initial review, I clearly thought this was the best film of all time. Second time watching it, not as good. Even in my initial review, I hated the ending. I thought the ending was just really shoved in your face. And I still firmly agree with that. I think that ruins the film. I found it a lot more funnier second time around. Like, the comedy's really good, but it's nowhere near as scary as I remember. Lupita Nyong'o should have been nominated for Best Actress. Like, are you kidding me? She's incredible in this. It's a really good concept. And I really like the themes that it deals with. I was really excited for this. I booked my tickets over a month before the film even came out, and the reason for that being that this is directed by Makoto Shinkai, the guy who made Your Name, which is my third favourite animated film of all time, and it's just genuinely a masterpiece. Like, my only problem with it is that the spine of the Blu-ray looks really weird. This definitely exceeded my expectations. It's no Your Name, but I feel like it's better in some areas than Your Name and worse in some areas than Your Name. The biggest being that I feel like the characters are a lot more stronger, but the environments aren't as stunning as Your Name. Like, they're both quite slow in the first act, and then just boom, 2 hours have just zoomed by like as quick as a crack of lightning. Makoto Shinkai, I don't get how he does it. He makes me cry without even knowing why I'm crying. And although I don't think the themes are as good as in Your Name, I really do like the message of this film. Yeah, I just don't want to be an adult after watching this. This film wrecked me. it felt too real. Adam Driver, if he wins Best Actor, well fucking deserved, mate. Man, oh man, him and ScarJo, oh man, Noah Baumbach, you just can't top this film. You can never do another film like this after Marriage Story. It has a lot of good attempts at humor as well. Oh man, yeah. Waves had me feeling several waves of emotion. Man, holy shit, what a film. Kelvin Harrison Jr. was incredible, and his character arc is masterful. It's so well written. Trey Edward Schultz, he did a fantastic job in general, but with the style of this film, oh my god, I love the visuals. The color grading of this film is so good that the colorist has his own title card in the opening credits, Alexa Demi, and she was great. She was really good. So was Taylor Russell. All of the performances were great, except for Lucas Hedges. I really liked the music and how it was used. Throughout the whole film, I cried, I think 3 or 4 times. Like, this fucked with my emotions so hard. But for most of the film, especially the first half, I was just on the verge of crying the whole time. Like, the first half is so stressful and so sad and just so good. I see myself buying the Blu-ray as soon as possible and just ejecting the disc when the first half ends, because the second half definitely isn't bad, no. But the first half is relentless. And I couldn't relate to any of it, but I adored every second of it. And I know this is already so high, but honestly, this would be even higher, but it's just the second half, it kind of feels so detached from the first half. This is the biggest snub I've ever seen. In my eyes, this is literally a perfect film. I don't have anything wrong with it other than the fact that some scenes are a bit grey, but most of the film is set in China anyway, so this hasn't received a single Oscar nomination, and it should have at least gotten Best Actress, Best Directing, Best Cinematography, and at least Best Original Screenplay, and I legitimately thought that it would be nominated for that and go on to win. This film moved me so much more than I was expecting it, and although on the second viewing it's not as good because the first time I literally went into it blind, and so the magic is kind of gone, but I still love it, and it's so well paced, and the structure of this is so good, and I absolutely love the way that it is shot. Honestly, Lulu Wang, I already respect and love her so much. I am so excited to see what she does next. David F. Sandberg did a fantastic job. This film was made with pure heart and devotion. The special features of this film are so good, and you need to watch them. Oh man, Zachary Levi and Jack Dylan Grazer, man, these two really brought the film to life and gave it so much energy, and they were so good, and it's such a good film. Like, yes, some of the kid performers aren't that great, and you could argue that Savannah is quite underdeveloped, although I don't think so, but holy shit. This is one of the best superhero films ever made, because it has the self-awareness of Deadpool, it has the themes of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and it has the feel of the Sam Raimi trilogy. I have a lot of problems with this, but it's Endgame. It's Endgame, come on. I think overall the whole film feels very rushed. Like, there's a lot of aspects of this film that are really poorly written, and it's clearly missing a lot of stuff, and it's definitely not a well-made film, but it's this high up on the list because it's so much fucking fun. It is so satisfying. I've grown up with these characters, so of course I'm going to be so emotionally attached to this. The 4 times I've watched it, I bore my eyes out at least once, and the CGI is incredible, although they rely on it a bit too much. One day I was on YouTube and a Caitlin Dever interview popped up with Stephen Colbert, and I was like, the girl from Short Term 12, my favourite film of all time, I'll see what she's promoting. And she's promoting this film called Booksmart, directed by Olivia Wilde, so I was immediately interested. I didn't watch the trailer or anything, I just immediately booked tickets for the next day, and this is a great directorial debut. And I hate that this film isn't on Blu-ray in the UK. I'm gonna have to get it imported at some point. Like, some people are saying it's female Superbad. It's so much more than that. Like, this film is shot well. It's so funny. Caitlin Dever and Beanie Feldstein, just fucking great. And like, everything else about this film is iconic. Like, the only thing I don't like about this film is the audio mixing. This is a comedy for the ages. It captures the energy of Generation Z so well, but I feel like it will never die. I love it so much. I saw the trailers for this film, and I just knew I wanted to see it. And I hadn't even seen Hereditary at that point. But then it ended up being an 18 here in the UK, and I am not 18, and I don't even look it. And then after only a week, my local cinema was finishing its run, and I was like, you know what, screw it, I'll go and buy a ticket. If they don't let me in, at least I've contributed to the film. I'm so glad the guy let me in. Holy shit, I was mesmerized. This was like a fever dream that just enticed me. He's incredible. Ari Aster, you are the man. Florence Pugh, this was your year. You should have been nominated for Best Actress for this. You are great. On the second time watching this, which was the director's cut, you made me cry within the first 10 minutes. And I also believe that the director's cut isn't as good as the theatrical cut, because the director's cut just reinforces some stuff that's already present in the theatrical cut, so it's kind of unnecessary. The director's cut is nearly 3 hours, and it felt like 90 minutes. It's horrifying, but gorgeous. And it has such a great tone. Like, it's so sad, and it's so what the fuck. The look of the film, don't even get me started. The cinematography, this should have been nominated for Best Cinematography. It's gorgeous. There is not a single bad performance. And the score, Bobby Krilic made a score that is so unsettling, but also so, like, reassuring. Like, how can you make a film this good? Like, this, it's just exactly my type of horror film. And the ending is incredible. At its core, this isn't a horror film. This is a breakup film. And that's handled so fucking well. And I love this film for it. Okay, now moving on to TV. This was Ralph the Movie Maker's miniseries. Yeah, I'm sorry, Ralph, but this was total shit. Were you trying to copy Dario Argento with the awful dubbing? The cinematography was okay, I guess. I liked the color grading. It's 40 minutes, and it was so boring. And the acting was quite poor. The score was pretty good. To sum it up in one word, inconsistent. Extremely corny, predictable, awful dialogue, but it has a serious tone, so it's rarely self-aware when it should be. And yeah, that along with some bad acting and rough CGI was scattered across the first season. But I feel like it's more present in this one, but at least that ugly blue tint isn't as heavy in this season, at least after the god-awful first episode, which is literal cancelled DLC from the first season. Also, the structure of this season is awful, and I just didn't have fun with it, whereas the first season I really liked, and I feel like it's kind of lost its touch. But overall, it was bearable, and it still has the great costume design and really well choreographed scenes. The first season is great. I really loved it. It felt like a passion piece, because it was. The creator and writer, Kit Steinkeller, this pretty much happened to her in real life. But this season just feels like everyone coming back to do their jobs. And it was just so dull. And I hated what they did with the story, mainly because it was predictable in the sense that that's what you don't do. And the only reason I stayed with it is because I just love Elizabeth Olsen. I just couldn't get into it, which sucks, because you know, I like stuff like this, like, the makeup and practical effects and, like, the body horror is so good, and that's, the best part about Swamp Thing is Swamp Thing, and when he's not in it, it's boring, and I couldn't enjoy it, but it had the principal from iCarly, so that was pretty fucking dope. I absolutely love Always Sunny, and I think this is definitely the worst season yet, and I think maybe they should just end it before it gets too bad. We have 14 seasons of iconic great television. We don't need any more. Yeah, with this season, I just feel like they thought of a social message and tried to make scripts out of it, but they were never funny. First episode, Striking Vipers. What the hell was that? that was laughably bad. I couldn't. And the second episode, Smithereens, excellent, so good, so suspenseful, so scary. Andrew Scott, is that his name? Incredible performance, and I really liked it. And then it ends, and it's so anticlimactic, and you've just been building up to nothing. What? You ruined what could have been one of the best episodes. And then the last episode, I'd say it's the most Black Mirror-y, but it's objectively bad. Like, come on, I had some fun with it, but it had some good themes and messages, but it was bad. My older brother, who loves Black Mirror, we both watched it the day this season came out, and we ended up having a 20-minute phone call about how shit this season was. I don't really know how I feel about this, because watching the trailer, I was like, okay, this is going to be the worst season yet, and it was. It's easily the worst season yet. I don't know what they were going for. There's so much gratuitous nudity in this, it just felt weird. But there's like one really good episode, because that's the one episode they're not stuck in the casino, and yeah, that made me tear up. it looks so promising. And then like all the Marvel Netflix shows, it goes on for way too long and you just become disinterested. And it just sucks because it was such a cool concept, but they just drag it out to 13 episodes for some reason. I liked elements of it, like I definitely enjoyed it. But yeah, it just kind of sucks that the Marvel Netflix had to end like this. I ended up watching it because I was bored one weekend. Although it isn't generic, I felt like it played it very safe. Like it didn't take any risks where I felt like it could have done. I like what they did with the title card. I had some fun with it. The first half of this season is so much worse than the first season, which I already feel was a pretty meh season of television. But the second half, it suddenly got really, really good. Yeah, I quite liked it. Like, they do well with the budget they have. I feel like they don't really know what to do with characters that aren't main characters. I liked it. I definitely enjoyed my time with it. But is it good? I don't know. Because it's Mark Webb directing a bunch of high schoolers who have like love triangles and shit. And Mark Webb's strong point is clearly a romance. A lot of the characters are very, very likable. But I feel like they kind of write themselves into a corner a bit and they don't know how to get out. And so they kind of just do some stuff that makes no sense. And I don't know, it's a cool concept though. Bridget Lundy Payne, she just has so much charisma and is so likable. And Gilchrist, he's really good as an autistic kid, I think. And yeah, I just really like this show. It's one of my favorite Netflix shows. Season 3, definitely the worst, but I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's a good place. It's not the best season, it's not the worst season. Ted Danson's whimsical. Kristen Bell's great, and oh fuck, episodes came out in 2020. Am I allowed to talk about those? This was great. In the first episode, there's a character that you think will become a main character, but then we never see her again, and that was a bit weird. And once again, it drags on for far too long, and I feel like they didn't know who the main villain should be. But John Bernthal was born for this role, and I think this season was really well written, and his dynamic with Georgia Wiggum, was really great. People are sleeping on this show. Oh my god. It's one of those films that is actually consistent between seasons. Like, I'd say this season was just as good as the first season. It's so good. It's so good. It's just so well written and the characters are really strong. And just the production design is off the charts. Like, Ben Frost, he's a great composer. Oh my, the score is so good. The only thing that sucks about season 2 is that the way it sets up season 3, I'm worried that season 3 will be far too convoluted. I was quite disappointed by this. A story like this is right up my alley, and it had Caitlin Dever and Toni Collette, two of the best actresses. So yeah, hell yeah, I was going to watch this. And I did the day it came out instead of playing Borderlands 3. The direction in the first couple of episodes sucks. Merritt Weaver also kind of sucks. She's not a good actor. No, could never really tell what she was trying to convey. But yeah, Caitlin Dever was incredible, and I feel like that side of the story is a lot stronger than the Toni Collette and Merritt Weaver side of the story. But I like that for once, it's a film about police incompetency instead of police being racist or sexist or something. This just came out of nowhere. This is like an almost perfect season of television. Rotoscope animation, I've never really understood the stylistic choice behind it, but for this it made sense because there are sequences that, for budgetary reasons, I think that's why they did it. But it works, and I liked the characters. Rosa Salazar, again, well done. Like, she kind of has that Aubrey Plaza energy about her. I really liked the concept. I absolutely loved the ending. You Season 1 is one of my favourite seasons of television that is produced by Netflix, but you can't really do a sequel to it. And so with this, they kind of changed the tone a bit. Like, the first one was a fucked up drama. This season, however, is kind of like a sort of dark comedy. And although there's some writing, which is just like, are you serious? Once again, I just had so much fun with it. And I think the new tone really works well. Penn Badgley, how? How can you be so charming and so creepy? How? How can I root for a serial killer? And also, Victoria Pedretti, so nice to see her in something. And she was obviously incredible. Kind of suffers a bit of sequelitis. I was expecting this to be absolute garbage, but oh my god, it was briefly my favourite season. But it's just so much fun. Like, yeah, it's not Stranger Things. Like, the show has definitely lost its identity, and they're clearly, like, because you can't really continue the mystery element, they're just kind of going for a 80s action comedy. Maya Hawke and the Scoop Troop in general were just great, but some of the performances sucked, and they clearly didn't know what to do with some characters. But yeah, man, that ending. Whoo! Spectacular finale. This was really, really, really good. Carl Urban was so good. He was clearly having so much fun. Jack Quaid I thought was really, really good, and I thought the story was so well written, and it's a really, really good social commentary, and it's just so batshit crazy, and because of it, it's so much fun. But yeah, I love the story. Erin Moriarty, never heard of her. She was great. I loved her. Yeah, I'm super excited for season 2, and although the first episode is my favorite, I think that this show is consistently good. Like, there's no standout episodes. It's very nearly perfect. This was wonderful. The last 2 episodes kind of lost me. I don't think the last 2 episodes are that good. I thought 5 was such a good character, and he was performed so well. I forgot his name. It was Adrian something, I think. But yeah, I really liked Ellen Page. I thought all of the actors were good, especially Robert Sheehan. The only thing I didn't like about it was the guy who played number 1. But yeah, I just thought it was extremely well written. Like, it's so subtle in its storytelling, and the action is great. The CGI is incredible. And it's just a lot of fun, and at points it's so sad. The first season of this came out of nowhere, and it was genuinely perfect, and it ended so well that although I wanted a season 2, I didn't want one because there's no way it could top it. And a year went by and we didn't have a season 2, so I assumed we never would get one. And then boom, this emotionally manipulated me so much. This made me so happy, it made me so sad, and oh my god, Jessica Barden and Alex Lawther, they have such great chemistry. Oh, they're just so cute. Alex Lawther is a great actor. He needs to be in so many more things. So does Jessica Barden. I think Jessica Barden's Alyssa will end up being quite iconic because she's just so deadpan funny, you know. But in this season, she's better. In this season, she's so good because she's depressed. This season definitely isn't as well made as the first season, but I think I enjoyed it a lot more because it's still got that style to it, and it's just, I love it so much. I love it so much. And the score, Graham Coxon. Oh, wow! I heard about this in August of 2018 and was excited because Disney stars Zendaya as a depressed druggie, hell yeah. And then the trailer came out and I was not expecting a TV show with cinematography this good. I bought a Now TV subscription just to watch Euphoria, and I'm so glad I did. Oh my god, Sam Levinson did an amazing job. He is what now comes to mind when I think of visionary filmmakers. He blew it out of the park. Him and his cinematographers such as Marcel Rev and Drew Daniels. Drew Daniels worked on Waves. The cinematography is so good and it's exactly my style, and it's just amazing how they did it. And the color palette, I love stuff with like a pink hue, and this show has that a lot. The characters are really strong. Zendaya blew me away how great she is. Hunter Schafer, this is her first acting job, and how is she this good? And then Jacob Elordi, he's more terrifying than most of the Marvel villains. It's insane how good this show is, and I'm so excited for its second season. And I do feel that after episode 5 it kind of declines a bit because I think halfway through shooting they were told that they would get a second season. The original score composed by Labyrinth for Euphoria, it's so good in and out of context. I've been listening to it non-stop since I binged the show. It's, oh man. And yeah, you could argue that it's unrealistic at some points, but with a show with cinematography like this, I could not care less. As I said earlier, I haven't seen everything yet, so if you want, you can check out my letterbox for reviews of films that I will watch in the future, if you really care. And I know that 46 films isn't that many, but that's a lot for a British teenager, and I really wonder how many films I'll end up watching this year. For anyone wondering, my most anticipated film of 2020 is easily Last Night in Soho, the new Edgar Wright film starring Anya Taylor-Joy. Before I go, this is not only my opinion, but my opinion is subject to change, so don't be an ignorant little bugger, okay? Thanks.
Hey, what's up, you wanna talk? How come we don't call no more? Maybe we could
Don't be an ignorant little bugger. Bugger? I really don't like the ending. Like, the little ending scene in the asylum, that should have been a post-credit scene, because that's a fucking Scooby-Doo scene. The way he runs around, like, what? We live in a society, bitches. Oh, Greta Gerwig. Saoirse Ronan again. Great. Florence Pugh? Oh, shit. I gotta watch this.